What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be talking about Drop. This is currently playing in theaters. I actually got to see this early at one of the Cinemark secret screenings. So Drop is directed by Christopher Landon, which I was thrilled to see, especially with his work on like the Happy Death Day movies and Freaky. And I saw through another YouTube creator, Sean Chandler, who had an interview with him, that there is a Happy Death Day 3 now in the works, which is really awesome because I enjoyed the first two, and this definitely felt like it needed a third movie to potentially close everything out. So pretty awesome that we got that news. But let's get into Drop because, you know, this is one of those movies when you see the trailer, it just has this cheesiness to it. And so it was definitely on my radar of like, man, this movie could either be like potentially really good or it could be just really bad. It also aired at South by Southwest, so some of the early like reactions I got from it was actually pretty positive. So getting to see this during a secret screening was pretty awesome. So Drop, we follow Violet, who is a widow about to go on a first date. She hasn't been on a date in quite some time, and a lot of this movie follows her, especially with her backstory of going through physical abuse and like some pretty intense physical abuse, and just her connection with her son and just wanting to be safe, keep him safe, and also help others. And just going into that theme of like loneliness, wanting to find someone, and you know, being more of a new age movie because this movie has such a huge emphasis on technology and cell phones. So she finds someone that she wants to go on a date with through a dating app. They both agree to it, and now they're going to dinner. And the bulk of this movie takes place in the restaurant, so it's definitely one of those one location style movies. We do eventually go back to her house, and there's some things that go on there, but having this movie take place, the bulk of it in the restaurant is pretty cool, and especially how they utilize the restaurant, because like I said, this movie is all about the people around you and potentially who is coming after you. So they utilize a feature which they call Digi-Drop, very similar to AirDrop, which is made a reference to in the movie, where someone is dropping these memes on her phone, basically trying to get her attention, and puts her on a pretty intense mission, primarily to kill the person she is on a date with. And so a lot of this movie, we're trying to figure out like who is sending these messages, what is their motive, why do they want her, especially her in particular, to kill this person that she's on a date with. We're also getting to learn him and try to figure out his backstory. We know that his background is working in photography, works with some political figures, and we discover like he may have some information, but we don't really know like why does he have this information? Is there someone after him to prevent this information from getting out there? And that's essentially what we're trying to figure out. And the whole time, you know, you're on this date, so you get that, you know, romantic element of like what it's like in this day and age of like going on a date and can't be away from your phone. And she even makes it a point of like, you know, I'm a single mother, I have my son, I need to keep tabs on him and make sure everything's okay. So she wants to make sure that her date is okay with like her having her phone, you know, on the table at all times. And he says, you know, he understands, he's okay with it. But then you get into this dynamic of like, okay, you are always on your phone, like what's going on? And eventually like they kind of start sharing information, and they kind of play this detective role together to try to figure out who is the person sending these messages. And that's when the element of like all of these other people in the restaurant come into play of like, could it be the waiter? Could it be the hostess? Could it be the bartender? Could it be any of these other people that they've encountered with while being there? And they also like try to move tables. They try to do very specific things which they're blocked by from this person during this movie. And because of all of these things going on at once, especially with the you know, what's going on with her sister and son at home versus what's going on with her and her date in this restaurant, keeps you entertained. It keeps you glued to the screen to really try to figure out like what could be going on here. And I think this movie plays very well because it's not like super intense, but it's just intense enough to get you like kind of on the edge of your seat of like what could happen, like what are the boundaries here, what are they going to ask her to do, and where could this lead? And it gets a little bit rushed in the end, and there eventually is a moment where especially as we're getting into the third act, I'm sitting here, I'm like, you know, I feel like it's gotta be probably this person. And I think there is some predictability here where a lot of people could figure it out. And yes, that can take away from the movie, but I think watching this movie with a crowd of people, even going on a date to see this movie, is going to elevate the experience. Because yes, it's not like the overall strongest performance or story, and it has some predictability into it, but it still makes for a pretty fun and entertaining watch. And I think if you're just a fan of Christopher Landon, especially the Happy Death Day movies and a lot of the things that he's worked on, you get a lot of that style in here. And yes, it does have some silliness to it, but I think the silliness works in this movie because it is like that awkwardness of the first date, but you're layering that on top on the fact that someone is after me, my son wants me to kill someone. And so it definitely makes for a memorable first date experience as well. But all in all, I thought the cast did really well within this. You know, the son, you don't get to spend as much time with him because he's pretty young, but he is like a TikTok star, I believe, or like a YouTube star or something like that, because I've seen his face through social media apps. So it's pretty fascinating to see that we're now seeing these social media influencers or stars kind of working their way into mainstream media. But yeah, so Drop. So all in all, I had a great time, and I definitely recommend going to see this while it's still out in theaters. So Drop, pretty fun movie that takes place on an awkward first date gone super intense with someone stalking you. Love the fact that it's set primarily in one location and how they played into the restaurant, utilizing all the different elements, the rooms, the angles of this restaurant to kind of elevate this experience. And while I think the actors did pretty solid job with what they're given, the story itself, you know, pretty simple, easy to follow and kind of easy to predict at times, but I still think Drop is a pretty fun watch that you should definitely check out. If you saw Drop, what did you think? Let me know in the comments below. Are you excited for Happy Death Day 3? Are you a fan of those movies? Let's talk about that in the comments as well. If you're new here, be sure to like and subscribe. I know I've been away for a little bit, but we've had some pretty crazy weather come through Arkansas, which kind of slowed me down. I've been working on my office space as well, so I've been putting out more shorts, but hopefully we'll get back to posting full reviews later this week. And I'm actually getting to see an early screening for a movie tomorrow night, so I'm excited to talk about that one as well, and I'll share more detail soon. So thanks once again for stopping by. Hope to see you soon. All right, have a good one.